Hey guys, welcome to the future home of the Goody Studios. We've had it up and running in a small capacity for a while. We're due to expand. So I thought I'd bring you along for the ride and you get to see what goes on to make a small community podcasting slash recording slash just, general purpose audio video studio that also does restoration on analog media and all that sort of stuff. So this is going to be a multi-month project. It'll be sporadic. I won't record everything because I'll forget, but I'll do my best to keep you guys informed of what's going on. And you could follow along for the ride, enjoy, and let's take a tour, if you can call it that, of what we have to offer currently. Okay guys, so as you can see, we start life with two 20-foot containers. There's nothing special about these. I didn't record them getting dropped off because, let's face it, everybody's seen that. But these will be butted together. I can't level them yet because these are seconds. And if you look down there, you can see the sides are bowed. So I can't get them any closer together at the moment. So I have my trusty plasma cutter. Excuse the echo, we're now in an empty container. And basically these two common walls are going to come out. And then at some point, once we do that, then we'll pull the two containers together and they'll be bolted together. So I'll show it more when we get to that. But once we cut the sides out here, I'm cutting basically on the weld seam pretty much all the way around. And then they'll be bolted together through these plates. There'll be bolts every 6 inches or something. And then I'll be cutting it down about here, and every second rib probably will have a bolt through it. And that'll pull the containers together. Along the floor will be a little different. I'm gonna have to make a plate that goes between them. The same thing, I'll drill down. The difference is we'll weld bolts up from the bottom, and then we'll put a plate over it, and then we'll put some fairly flat nuts. They'll only be, 8 or 10 mil, and then we'll just make we've got to lift all this floor. This floor is going to be elevated by the time I'm going to take all this timber off and drop down to the studs and insulate and pack the floor. We're going to be 10 or 15 mil higher anyway. So to have a plate along there, it's going to end up being flush with the floor. The idea is that these will still be, there's a magpie up there, you can hear him. Yeah. I don't know if that's coming up or not, but he's wandering around up there. Yeah, the idea is that in the future these will be able to be taken apart to be moved somewhere else if we need to. The other thing is too, the reason we're back from the slab here is basically these doors will become, these two outside doors, they'll basically sit straight like that. These two doors will come off, and then we're just going to extend the floor line and the roof line. Oh, hey buddy, speaking of Maggies, there they are, there are a couple of our guys, Pedro and Pepe. My son named them. And yeah, so we're going to extend the floor back to this slab and extend the roof line across, and this will be basically giving you another 4 foot on the end of the container. And then down that end, when we cut these walls out, they're going to be recessed probably 4 foot back that way as well. So the containers will end up being close on 30 foot instead of 20 foot. This will be an outdoor riding area, tables, chairs, barbecue. There'll be a toilet out here. This will just be for the artists who need to catch up on stuff, do things. We obviously repair stuff and fix stuff, so a lot of this is customers' jobs, which won't be here, hopefully. And this side here will be, you're going to come down the side of the property, and there'll be a security gate there, and this will be like a little, rock garden or cactus garden or some such to the entrance, which will be probably on this side here. You'll walk in, there'll be a door obviously here, and then another door there, so there'll be double doors for noise reduction, because we are in suburbia here, so we do have to think about noise. but it's going to be a project and a half. And yeah, so I thought I'd bring you guys along for the ride, and now I'm going to try and not burn myself to pieces and cut this wall out. I suppose I should mark it up first, you know, and then I should actually make sure my plasma cutter works. But it's okay, I have a second one that I should also check if that works. Yeah, you know, it'll be right, we'll make it happen. So we'll do that, and once I've started cutting, I might set you up on a tripod and you guys can enjoy the sights and sounds, and well, you might get the smell of a plasma cutter. Okay guys, so I may not have mentioned, the whole point of the studio is for the community, but the other thing we're doing is we are using, wherever possible, recycled, second-hand, B-grade materials. This is to be built on a budget. It's not to make a profit. We will be charging for its use, but you know, as little as we can. You still have to cover insurances and power and blah 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 blah. So the idea is for the studio to cost as less as possible. We've actually budgeted about $20,000. Anybody who's ever tried to buy 20-foot containers in Australia, even B and C grade containers, you're not going to get much change of $2,000 or $3,000 delivered each. And technically we have 4. We have 2 for the studio, we have 2 for storage, and for, you know, holding equipment backwards and forwards. One will be probably later on. One will be a clean room for repairing VCRs, tape recorders, handy cams, that sort of stuff. So yeah, so that's the idea. So that's why we're starting with the cheapest. You know, even at $3,000 a pop, it's still cheaper to buy a couple of containers than to buy the materials required to frame. Now, I have an old shed, which I'll show you later, that I will be tearing down. It's an old carport. It's been here since, from what we understand, around the 60s, which was when this first home on this block was built. Actually, that slab I showed you earlier was originally the laundry bathroom area of the original house, from what I can understand. There's not too many people who remember it because it only stood for 10 or 15 years and it got burnt down. But the shed is original, so it's all hardwood. It's all, you know, cladding, all the hardwood. It's got a lot of materials we use to do the outside of this. Now, things like insulation, especially good quality acoustic insulation, we're going to have to buy new. So there are going to be some concessions to that. However, I think I can get a lot of that new, but used, like it's taken to job sites and it's excess or overused, over-ordered, or it's slightly defective stock, stuff like that. So I'm hoping to save some money with that. As I said, we already have a small studio we're using. It already has a Apple Studio. It already has an iPad. It already has 16 port, I think, mixer. It already has the monitors. It already has a lot of the stuff we'll need to at least make the studio start. We've got a couple of these handy cams. We've got a lot of microphones, a lot of you know, a handful of drums and guitars and keyboards, both MIDI and a roll and other as well. So we should have enough to make the studio function, and then as people hire it out, rent it, use it, they can bring their own equipment a lot of the time. If it's something that's unusual, we can always hire it. So it doesn't have to be, you know, a huge studio. It's also a podcast space, so there'll be room in here to put a table, round table, chairs, there'll be good lighting, a couple of cameras. We'll be able to live stream directly from here, we'll be able to record directly from here. So there's a lot of functions the studio will have. As I said, also we're transferring analog and really old media into current digital media, or back onto analog if you want. We'll also be recording a lot of the sessions onto like 4-track, and we'll have a lot of analog recording deals as well, where we're recording onto tape and onto VCR and onto Betamax and onto record. So that's the thing. But yeah, so the idea is it's reduce, reuse, recycle effectively, because we can. It's sort of a bit of a challenge, a personal challenge as well. Is, you know, I've seen people turn a 20-foot container and spend $50,000 on a 20-foot container as a single-person studio. Like, yeah, okay, you could, but that's not what this is about. This is about making something that any member of the community can access, or if somebody needs to have a quiet area and they just want to study, or they just want to write music, or they just want to be left alone, they can do that. If you've got 2 or 3 guys have a garage band, they can come, they can lay a track down, they can use it as a practice space. You've got somebody who wants to do a vocal recording, we can do that. So it's just a general multi-purpose utility studio. It will serve multiple functions. It won't do anything perfectly, but it will do everything pretty well. And at the very least, it'll be good enough that you can use it to send out demos, and be perfectly fine for a lot of, because we're going to be offering recording services and stuff for podcasting, or just general recording. We also have configurations to do mobile streaming and mobile recording. We've got mobile Zoom equipment and blah, 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 blah. So, it will do everything fairly well. It won't do anything perfectly, and there'll be a lot of things that it probably won't do as well as a dedicated studio, but it will do everything. Or at least it can be made to do everything that the average small entry-level musician or podcaster or anything they could need, it will do. And that's a long-winded way of saying that's why we're starting off the way we're starting. This whole concept of the, we're Pirate Radio, Goodies Studio, right? That's, if anybody's old enough to remember the Goodies, they had Pirate Radio. They did things differently, they did things their way instead of being told how to do something. And that's kind of what we're about. We do things the way we look at the end result, and then we work out how we get there. We don't follow the procedure put in place to make every step of the way that exact thing same that everybody else has done. These videos are going to be raw, they're not going to be edited, they're not going to have many cuts. I generally don't do multiple takes. I don't have the time. You're going to get what I have time to do. You'll see other people, it won't just be me. You'll see a few other people come and give us a hand to do things, and as things progress, I just happen to be the one who knows how to do a lot of welding and plasma cutting, so the initial stuff's going to be me. I'm not a musician, I'm not a studio tech. I have been in multiple digital and analog industries for 30 plus years, but I'm not a specialist in any one field, which is kind of why I was called upon to do this project, because I understand everything enough without overthinking it. Somebody says, I need this to happen, I go, okay, and I make it happen. So that's kind of what this is about. But anyway, now I've started plasma cutting through here with my trusty plasma cutter. It's hard to see on camera, you're not really going to see it, but I can see that light through here. So what I'm going to actually do, I've just marked up the next, I do a couple of foot at a time, otherwise it gets really hot and stuffy in here. But let me just zoom in on this next bit. It should be, is that about right? Yeah, so it's going to be basically, I'm cutting my 100mm down from the top. So as I was saying before, these are going to be where these flats go in, these are going to be bolted together. So obviously it's got to be waterproofing and soundproofing, blah, 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 but these are going to hold the containers together so they can be separated later when we need to. Let me just tilt this up a little bit. As I said, raw and unedited, guys. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's generally what you're going to get. I don't have really a lot of time to shoot, and I don't have a lot of time to edit. But let's see how we go with this next section. Let's I turned the plasma cutter off because of the noise. If you turn it back on, I guarantee it'll work better. So yeah, this runs on to keep the tip cool. So, turn that off. I won't bore you too much with the details, but these auto helmets, this is not technically for plasma cutting, this is for welding, but it's auto brightness, so you can adjust how bright it is. So if you turn the brightness right down, you can use it for off and welding and for plasma cutting. But yeah, so as you can see, we just go along and do that. I mark up the next couple of foot, do that. I do it in small increments because I don't want to overload the plasma cutter, I don't want to overload the compressor. You know, I'm using older second-hand gear here, so there's no reason to stress stuff out more than it needs to be. So I'm going to leave you guys there for a few minutes. I'll mark up the next bit, do the next bit, and then you'll probably come back when, yeah, there's a hole in the floor there. Just ignore that. Floor's all going to come up anyway. So you guys should have enough battery to be there for about 10-15 minutes, so we'll see how we go. We've got a homegrown marking. It hasn't got to be exact. It's going to be covered in header boards and insulation and materials and anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It's enough that I can always cut more off later if I end up putting the bolts up higher and decide that there's enough space. So we can always cut more out. Because whilst you can technically weld stuff on, it's easier to not have to. And I just go ahead and just freehand this because I can't really see too much with the welding mask, even with the auto brightness turned all the way down. I still can't see amazingly well out of the mask anyway, so that's why I stop at every rib so I can see where the next point is, and I kind of just freehand it. Let's go to that. I've got to cut those off too. I'm going to cut those off too, but we'll go to there for now. Now I've got to move the plasma cutter because I'm out of reach where it is. Need fire! Let there be fire. Make some more noise. Enjoy. Now, I'm going to re-cut this one in more. Come on. More deep. Yep. Saw that coming. I was about to say, it's going to fall over and it's going to blow the hose apart. I mean, I was right. Wasn't quite right. One of those things you don't want to necessarily be right about. But I was. I wonder if I can show you guys. Let's see here. So use a, wow, that actually did even better than that. So, these are high quality quick release fitting that completely just blew apart. because, you know, I don't have enough to do today. That's right, I'm going to take this fitting off, and I'm just going to put, I wonder what the chances are of that. Nah. I've got a normal male fitting I'll just put on there and put the compressor hose straight on it. I'm not even sure why it has a tail, to be honest. Alright, I'll be back. Okay. Let's give it a go this time. We'll put the connection straight on instead of through two hoses. You know, why it wasn't on in the first place. Now, let's see if we can do something useful here. Ironically, I can't really tell if it's cut, it's a little bit too high. But what I'll do, I'll switch over to another camera. I'm actually using this camera as like an inspection camera to see how that cut's going and if I've missed any areas. So far so good, honestly. There's a couple little bits, but also I don't mind, there's a big bit there I missed. I don't mind so much either because, how do I say, it's going to hold it, like it's not going to just collapse the whole thing anyway, so yeah. Hey look, there you are. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to let that cool down. I'm not going to make you guys suffer through the pain of the rest of the cuts. I'm going to suffer through the pain of the rest of the cuts. And I'll catch up with you after it's all done. Okay. So I've done the sides and across the top as I saw before. I've done all the way down the back. And the tricky part that was down, believe it or not, the hardest part was actually all the way down underneath here. Just trying to not get interference with the wood and the bog and whatever else is going on down there. So I've done that. All I need to do now is get an angle grinder and cut through these. Technically the plasma cutter will do it, but it throws a lot of slag everywhere, and the last thing I want is to catch this wood on fire and do that. So that's where we're at. I'm going to grab an angle grinder and cut through those, and then I'll mount you guys up on a tripod. Well, actually, technically, you're still mounted on a tripod. See, there's two of you. Alright guys, so here's the final separation before I go through and pull. Now I've actually got to pull the wall in, so I've had to empty the container out. Because I have a container, well, next to the container, it means I wasn't thinking and I started pushing it out, and I'm like, oh, hang on, that won't work. So I've had to empty this out, and yeah, so now I'm going to I'll try and pull it in by hand, see what happens. What I'll end up most likely doing is blowing a hole through here, sticking a chain through it, and that way I can stand back a bit, pull on it so hopefully it doesn't crush me, but that'll make an entertaining video if it does. So, alright, let me try and do this thing. That wasn't that hard now, was it? That had happened a couple of hours ago, would have been great. But now I've got to get it out of there, and I don't have enough room to move it back this way. That's a problem for another day. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'm probably not going to show you the other side because, well, it'll be easier now because I know that even doing it wrong will still work. So actually on the other one it'll be easier because I'm just going to push it into this container as well, to be honest, because I've got even less room over that side to get it out. So alright, I'll catch you on the next one, guys. Alrighty, so it's a bit dark, guys, but you can see we got it out. This is kind of a bit of a close-up. You'll see on the main footage that it come out, but relatively clean actually. It was noisy, but not horrible. And now the fun part is I've got to move all of the stuff that was used in here, all the plasma cutters and tools and etc. into the other container because this one doesn't appear to be waterproof anymore for some reason. I don't know why. It's weird. Anyway, well, let's do it all again.